This is Lemisky Love, your host of Rehab Your Soul with Lemisky. Today we have a special guest. She is reigning from the East Coast. I'm sorry, the West Coast. The West Coast. She is in Cali, you guys, and she's gonna share some diet stuff and just healthy eating and all that stuff. So her name, I want to introduce you to Dr. Amanda Adkins. Hi, Dr. Adkins. How are you?
Great. How are you doing today?
I am great. Glad to have you on. So we are going to chat today about everything that you do. So tell us what you do in your words.
Well, to start out, I'm a board certified internal medicine physician. So I work with adults, mostly that have chronic diseases like high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, several different other things, but those are the main things. And then I also became an owner of Enlightenment Health and Wealth, where I work as a health and wellness coach, where I help women who are overweight prevent and reverse chronic diseases because 15-20 minute office visit was just not enough time to get everything done that we needed to do. So focused a lot on lifestyle medicine, which of course we don't do a lot in regular medicine, the day to day. So I just am learning more and more about that, implemented into my own life to help me prevent chronic disease. And now I love to help others do the same.
Awesome. So here on Rehab My Soul, we talk a lot about the soul and how we have to heal ourselves and overcome the things in life. And part of my experience has been part of the soul damage, I guess you would say, that I've needed to rehab has manifested itself in disordered eating. So I wanted to have Dr. Atkins on to talk about this because our community, the community, America, we have some horrible eating habits. We have some things that have been normalized as far as habits that are just normalized, just sitting and eating large meals and eating an abundance, a variety of things at a time. So my journey has taken me through food combining and food timing and fasting and feasting and low carb and high carb and low fat and high fat and eat it upside down so you don't gain any weight, stuff like that. I tried everything. I tried everything. So I am excited to share this because it's not completely soulful, but our soul is a part of everything that we do. So I wanted to have you here so that we can chat about it. So you said that you are an internal medicine physician. Awesome. But then you made the shift. So you're still practicing and you're
Yeah,
also coaching.
correct.
Okay, I thought you left the practicing, but I was like, wow, you made a jump. Okay, cool. But either way, it's still awesome. So, how long have you been doing the coaching for the health aspect of it?
It's been about a year and a half now.
Cool. And
Yeah.
so you said that what made you go into it? What made you kind of move into this direction more so of coaching? I know you said that, 15, 20 minute what is it called? An appointment,
Office visit.
office
Yeah.
visit is
Yeah.
not long enough. So, what made you make this shift? Because you're giving more of yourself as a doctor.
Yeah, it's just because a lot of patients would come and say, I don't want to take all these medications. I want to do it more naturally. And I just didn't want them to, try any and everything that may not be safe for their own body. And like I said, for myself, I don't like taking medication. So I wanted to learn what else can I do naturally to actually care for my body, but not necessarily harm it for the long run either. Because sometimes we may do things that are, short because we want to lose weight, but then it actually can cause more problems and damage to our bodies, like causing more inflammation, maybe having underlying heart disease and not know it. And we're like eating more high fat foods and then adding in that cholesterol. So I just wanted to be able to educate people outside of the office and reach more people, just to help. It's really selfish of me because I wanted to do it for myself and for my family, because there's so much, like I said, heart disease, diabetes, cancer in our own family, like in most African American families. And just learning that information, and people would hear me talk and they're like, oh, well, how can I get off medicine? Can I really get off medicine? And so I was like, yeah, you can. Let's see how we can work together. And then, like I said, in 15 minutes, and we have to discuss everything plus, their ankle hurting or, their back ache, it was too much time constraint. And I wanted to better give people more.
For sure. That is so awesome. Thank you for that. Because I have left a plenty of visits unfulfilled. So totally understand. Thank you so much for that. So, what about your journey? How has your personal journey led to doing this work?
Yeah, so my journey starts back decades ago, I would say. So I was a teenager, actually about 14 years old. And I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but back in um, a PE class we used to have in high school, we had to do these physical fitness tests. And
Ooh, I
you
hated
had,
those.
yeah, they had to weigh you had to do, run a mile, sit in the stretch, all these sorts of things. And I remember having to get on the scale and weighing 199 pounds as a 14-year-old. And I was so embarrassed. I knew I was overweight. I knew I didn't feel good. And I just felt depressed. And that was like my wake up call, like, okay, if I don't want to feel this way forever, what can I do now to change my own history or my own future? So I decided to start exercising from that point on. And I'll just continue to do what I can. I would buy all sorts of gadgets. The first thing I remember buying was an ab roller. I don't know if you remember seeing those infomercials where it's this big old thing that comes over you and you just do all these ab crunches.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would save my lunch money and then buy these different gadgets to try to lose weight, the Thigh Master, all sorts of things. And it actually, worked. I was able to lose some weight. And then at the age of 16, I became a vegetarian. And not knowing at the time, what to actually eat. But I was a junk food vegetarian, as I look back and call it now. And so I would eat like Big Mac with no meat and French fries, or, a cheese pizza, Doritos and Coke, something like that, to where it wasn't necessarily meat. So I thought I was doing good, but it wasn't
Right.
necessarily healthy. But I still continued to lose more weight because I wasn't getting in the calories from the meat.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I would say to actually, I was out of medical school, out of residency. So I continued to eat like that throughout the time, and, probably lost about 30 pounds just with exercising and cutting out meat. And then when I became an actual private practice doc in a group practice, there was a conference that they were putting on with Mayo Clinic in Arizona about nutrition. And we don't learn a lot about nutrition in medical school. So I loved Arizona, and I was like, oh, this is a great time for me to take a vacation and learn more about nutrition. And there was one of the docs there that was giving a lecture, and he said, you cannot out exercise a bad diet. And I was like, wow, is that what I've been trying to do all this time? Like, I eat, and I was like, okay, I'll go burn the calories off, and there I go. But I wasn't necessarily nourishing my body. And come to find out, he was talking about a plant-based diet. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't change it at the time. And I even had a patient that was following Dr. Furman, which is big in the plant-based space, that started telling me about, eating more fresh fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and things like that. And so I slowly started to implement those things and saw how much better I felt. I didn't have the sluggish afternoon. I didn't want to go home and go to sleep, even though I love sleep immediately. And I just started to feel more energized. And as I looked into it more, this was a way that actual people that had like high blood pressure or high blood pressure in their family or diabetes, that they could actually stop their medication or prevent them from going on medication. So I've just been trying to, learn more and more about this plant-based eating as I can, because like I said, this is what's helped me along the way. And just an aspect that other patients can actually learn information and do the same if they want off medication or try to prevent being on medication.
Awesome. Oh, the junk food vegan. I'm guilty of going through that phase too. Sometimes, but I still feel better though, short term,
Yes.
than
Mm-hmm.
having that meat kind of bog down my digestive system. So I totally get what
Right.
you're saying, but it's definitely inflammation's crazy. Um, but yeah, wow. Okay. So how often do you encounter people where you have to actually like low key convince them like this is curable. Like you don't have to
Mhm.
live with this.
Yes. I would say every day in my practice, I'm still trying to convince people that they don't have to have meat to live.
Right.
And that if they want off medication, some people I can say, no matter what I say, they're like, yeah, just give me the pill. And I'm like, I respect their decisions. Like, okay, we can do that, no problem. It's not going to fix the underlying problem, but we can definitely try to stave it off a little bit. But there's a lot of people who are like, yes, I heard that, you don't really like medication either. So I want to come and see what I can learn to do. And so that gets me like excited. And then
Yeah.
you have the people in the gray area that's like, I hear you, but I'm not 100% convinced as of yet.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I guess, I'm still working on trying to coach people into saying it's okay that you're not 100% at this point in time, but let's take the first step. And my first step is always, what are you currently eating, and can we add in more vegetables? Because it's not necessarily just taking away the meat, it's that we're lacking the vegetables. Like I said, the junk
Yeah.
food vegetarian. So if people can think about it that way, saying, okay, I don't necessarily have to give this up, but maybe I can add in, this. And I've found that more people are open to that
Yeah.
than if I just say, just stop eating meat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that. I don't know where I ran across it in my personal development research over the years, but they do say like people prefer to add something rather than take away. So how do you play on that? Is adding more vegetables, the fiber, the nutrients, the
Yeah.
micronutrients that people seem to just want to dismiss.
Yeah.
I oh man, there was a question that I had and I got thrown off, but I'll circle back to it. But so how often, I'm not sorry, how often, how long does a person usually work with you? Say they say, "Oh, I found out about you. You're a low med doctor. I want to work with you. I want to change my lifestyle." I remember what I wanted to say now. I'll say it in a second. Um how long would someone work with you? How long do your typical people that, really want to reverse what they have going on, something chronic, how long do they work with you?
So in my coaching aspect, it's like 6 weeks. So that's what I'm working with now for people. But actually, as a physician in my practice, I mean, it goes on for years. So people just keep coming back, and we just tell them, we want to keep an eye on everything, make sure that what you're doing, because we all slip up, and we can kind of backtrack. That they would need to still come in and make sure everything is good. So it'll be years, that they would work with me. I actually can think back to one lady, and unfortunately, I'm not in that practice anymore. I moved from Tennessee to California. And she was very inspirational for me because she was one that came in African American in her 40s, excuse me, and I told her that she had diabetes, and she like this, her face, she was like, oh no, this is not what I want at all. She was like, I don't want to go on insulin, I don't want to do shots, what else can I do, what else can I do? And so this was still early in my journey about learning about plant-based eating. So, I talked to her about lifestyle, and she came back 3 months later, a totally changed person. I wish I could still talk with her to see how she's doing now, but she was the shortest time frame person that made that change for me early on that it really kind of revved me up to keep going. Like,
Wow.
okay, this is going to work. And it's just a journey. And I tell people all the time, just like if you're a smoker or something like that, that if you go backwards, you're still going to be farther along than when you started. So
Yeah.
don't give up. So it's a lifestyle, a
Yeah.
lifelong journey. Every time we think about eating, we have to make the decision: is this going to be health promoting or disease promoting? So
Right.
um, it can be lifelong. So
Cool, cool, cool.
mhm.
So, as far as what your offerings are for coaching, how do you coach? Is it all one-on-one? Is it group? Do you have retreats? Tell me about that.
So it's still a work in progress. At this point in time, I do group coaching. I'm trying to transition to one-on-one because I hear people say that that's what they want. But with working full-time practice, a daughter, wife, I'm a wife, and it just wasn't feasible at the time. But I'm trying to work that in. But a lot of people get a lot out of the group program, the way it's structured. I start out with having them do a detox and then work with now the pillars of lifestyle medicine to where it's not just nutrition, but exercise, sleep, stress management, getting rid of toxic substances and social relationships. So right now we're working on that lifestyle of things so people can actually implement that. But eventually, I would say before the end of the year, I'll be doing probably some one-on-one to where we can dive deeper for individuals.
Awesome. That sounds so good. So, anything else you'd like to share? Where can we find you online?
Well, I am on Facebook and Instagram at Dr. Amanda Adkins, and it's spelled Adkins. And then I have my website, which is dramandamd.com.
Perfect. We'll make sure we put that in the show notes. So this is what I wanted to say earlier, and I think we can just chat about this as we get ready to wrap up. For one, it's funny that your name is so close to Dr. Atkins.
I know, right? I get that all the time. That's why I always say it's the D and it's the other end of the spectrum.
Right.
Spectrum.
Right. Complete other way. The other way. Um, yeah, I didn't realize that until you said with a D. I was like, oh yeah. So I think this is what I wanted to say earlier. How can we as people, you, I, helpers, healers, how can we get people more excited about valuing their quality of life?
So I would say that you would have to dig deep on what's important to you. And so actually in my 6 week program, we start out with why do you want to do this? Because if you're just like, oh, I want to get off medication, but there's still something deeper of why you want to do this, right? So like I said, for me, it was, I saw my family dying from the heart disease, the diabetes. My grandmother was on dialysis and she was just like, by the end, she said she just was tired. She was ready to go. And she just, laid down and went to sleep. And I was like, that's not the life you want to live, right? That's what dig deep in my soul. And like, I'm just getting chills and trying not to tear up thinking about it. But it's like, you want to live life and be, able to do things. Like I'm thinking like now I love to hike. I love to travel. And when I retire, I want to be able to still do those things and do them well, even better than what I'm doing now, right?
Mhm.
And so I think that's what keeps me going. And for someone else, they just have to find that deep reason, that one that will give them chills, that will almost make them want to tear up, that say, this is why I'm doing this. Not to say, oh, I'm better than you, or oh, how could you eat that? It's causing havoc on your body. That's not going to change anyone. It's going to be, like I said, that goosebump moment to where you're like, this is not going to work for me long term.
I love that. That's true. I totally agree. It's got to be that goosebump moment, like you said, that almost weepy, like man, like this is what I forgot that I was doing all this for. You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much, Dr. Adkins with a D. I
Yes.
appreciate your time. I am so delighted to have you in this season, and just excited for what you're doing. And I want to make sure that if people, catch your vibe and they want to work with you, that they can reach you. So we're going to have all your info in the show notes. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for your expertise and be well.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate you having me on the show.
Awesome. You are so welcome.